Welcome, everybody. We are now live streaming in our group Health and Healing for Women Survivors of Trauma. We are here today for our conversations and connections. This is where we get to bring in some really beautiful, powerful women ready to share their gifts, their wisdoms, their medicines with every single member here. The invite is also out there. If you want to join us live here in Zoom, just follow that link. You can join in on the conversation as well as make some connections that could be really powerful for your health and healing. Lauren Corthy here. I'm the founder and admin of this group, working to break survival mode, to reclaim body and life. I work with trauma survivors. I'm a trauma survivor myself, helping to bring all of the resources to you so that you can access and start the journey. Today, we are here for part 2 of 3 with Jamie Hartwig. She brings an amazing wealth of information talking about mind, body, the ways to shed trauma and tension. She uses a whole medley of modalities, but she has a couple favorites. If you missed part 1, you're going to want to go check that out. It talks about the overview of those. And today we're going to talk about something really cool about body intelligence and how that can help us as survivors. And Jamie, I'm going to pass it over to you and let's have a conversation about this.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Good morning. It's a beautiful snowy day in Denver, Colorado. We're getting very low temperatures, so I'm wondering what it is in your town. Let us know, put it in the chat, and it's always fun to know that. How are we living more fully and creating good relationships and relying on our empathetic skills to help us move through our emotions? I love talking about emotions and just how can we sit with each emotion that arises with an empathetic skill and experience it by being centered and feeling and having a well-grounded psyche instead of ignoring it or leaving it or sidestepping it or dodging that emotion or shutting it up and stuffing it. These are subtle ways that we squander and lose touch with our emotions. All emotions are there to wake us up. Wake up! Hey! Yeah, come on, it's time to wake up. They're tools that we can use, and they are about movement and growth. And if we let them fester and torment us and stir around, we're not going to be fluid. We're not going to be able to feel that essential flow of who we are. And it's always best to attend to the emotion at hand, right? Whatever is happening, and then we can go on our merry way. If we can feel into that emotion by moving along with them, no matter how many emotions are layered, if we're angry and sad at the same time, they can stack on top of one another. But we want to let our bodies get involved because the body's going to always tell us everything, right? The muscles are going to either feel contracted and tight. This intelligence is innately in us, and we all know it. We all can sit back and go, I could feel that. I know that. We know that as little kids. And as we can learn to just, one of the modalities I use, of course, is the TRE, the shaking and the releasing, the involuntary muscles that I fatigue 6 muscles, and then they involuntarily shake in your body. It's very cool. You can find it on the Neurowiring site. Sorry, I got a technical thing there. So that's one of the modalities that we can use to help release. We can learn to focus. We can learn to pay attention to our boundaries. We can rely on the empathetic skills and experiences by just feeling centered and really steeped in our psyche. And these experiences we can start to understand. I think about sadness. Why is that mood state there for us? What is it doing? What is it in allowing us to feel? Now, I do this, it's a meditative kind of thing about bringing that forth in our being to understand what does it feel like and get centered and understand what it is. Thank it and let it process and let us have those feelings and know that after we embody that, we can feel changed. We are really getting acquainted and respectful with our sadness. You know, I often some of you might have tried this with a grounding cord where you're feeling really grounded and centered. You can attach that grounding cord anywhere you want, and you can allow all the feelings that sadness have. And when you're done with it, then you can put it down the grounding cord and let it move away. And just feel, what temperature does anger have? What color or sound does it have? And it's really a little bit like the neurosculpting modality that I use, that's really powerful guided meditation skills and practices to support the capacity to deal with trauma and stress and our limited stories. And, you know, it could be a personal drama, it could be an emotional drama, it could be an intellectual drama that our nervous systems are not dealing with and need healing. And the journey is just that, to feel. What is anger in our lives for? Why does it come? Anger's there to set really healthy boundaries. So there's a reason for anger to be there. And if, you know, we can feel where it resides inside of us, where it originates from, you know, we can gather with it and kind of gather it and look at it. Notice the shape and how it moves in our body. Does it have more activity? Is it more reactive? Does it have more discomfort? Does it have a heat to it? What is the temperature? Does it fuel up our nervous system? Are we feeling red and fiery? How is it programming us? How is it addressing the issue at hand? Because it's always, I mean, self-regulation feels better, right? I'm wondering, do you have an unhealthy contract with anger in your life? What is that all about? And how can you resolve some of those feelings? And how can you breathe into that emotion? It's important to really kind of look at it from behind your eyes. And, you know, the reaction is separate from the emotion. Authentic emotions move and flow. There's a fluidity behind that. They should not have a lasting repercussion to us in our body. They shouldn't fester and they shouldn't stagnate and they should not hurt you. So when we get into the empathetic sanctuary of us, at that moment, you know, I want to say, congratulations, be there, feel that. Because what can help maybe is just to notice what it is and where you really want to be. Do you really want to be more in contentment, in that sense of happiness or joy or neutrality. You know, contentment is about your accomplishments. And if we take the time to take a look at things, we can thank that emotion for being there. We can greet it or welcome it or feel it or say, wow, where'd you originate from? And really explore it, because any stuck emotion isn't right. We have to trust that our bodies know this and that we can let it go. We can have like a nice contract with it and say, okay, I'll rest with this. I'll stop. I'll breathe. And when we're done with this, I'll know that, thank you, you can go now and come back when you're needed again. I mean, because sometimes we don't always know. There's always something that's gonna happen. Life is always interesting. That's what it is all about. So I think we neglect our emotions and we get trapped. We feel trapped, and it's hard to feel synchronized and feel restored. It seems those neural patterns that we create are so important about feeling comfortable and feeling pleasure. So learning to connect with ourselves and being in sync with the daily sensory rhythms of cooking. Maybe, you know, you're missing that spice and you have to improvise, or, you know, just let it be okay. Maybe it's about, you know, when we're cleaning, or how we prepare ourselves to go to bed and wake up. How can we be more in sync? Could we be sharing more, you know, funny faces with each other? You know, it's like, where are we able to just express ourselves and laugh it all out off and say, you know what? Yeah, I'm a little bit late. I push it. I push it to the, I mean, yeah, my hair's wet. It's you know, a nice morning here. Um I'm thinking about, you know, just being easy with ourselves. Grab some lemons or something and start juggling, doing something to create a new neural pathway. Um, get a ball and toss it back and forth with each other. Just, you know, start singing, opening up that vagus nerve. Um, kazoo playing, that's a good one. Uh, getting that exhale to really help your parasympathetic system. It's all fostering a sense of attunement with ourselves, and then how we can be with each other. Being in sync with ourselves requires a integration of our body based senses, our vision, our hearing, our touch, our balance. Now, this is how we communicate with our faces. They're not the only pathways, but certainly they're going to help with the uh, rhythmicity, the reciprocity, and how we're, you know, it's so interesting to me that during this time going live here with COVID-19, how stress interacts with that. There's just not a visceral and a kinesthetic sensation of how our bodies are met with each other to lay down a foundation for what is really real. We feel a little bit trapped being here, and how that is this sensation. We're trapped to have this inner experience of how do we read each other's faces when we're like this. It's stress. It's stress that has exploded. But we really don't know the tools. We haven't been taught this in grade school. Boy, would I love to get this mapped out in grade school for these beautiful kids and have an effect on how our emotions have a purpose, how they, it's like right now we're really scared, right? There's a lot of that in communication or finances and business, and how things, have broken down our self-regulatory system. It's like a whole overwhelm. I work with the neuroplastic techniques, and I also do things that are somatic, and I'm doing a yoga workshop on, I think it's the 24th. I don't know, it's on my website. But, we've got to be careful of what we're thinking, because every time we have a thought, it fires an electrical impulse in the gray matter. And we want to just be aware of that, our electrical system, our nervous system, and how we have those thoughts, those expectations, those ideas, those habits, and how they form the gray matter. So when we're faced with a situation, we can make it better and easier. But I just feel that there's this heaviness that's happening. And, a lot of people have lost their jobs, and they're focused to live in a different way, and exasperating trauma. So how can we compassionately look into this illness that is happening on a global way? This illness of people's stress and suppressed anger and not taking care of themselves. How can we deal with these things to prevent the flare-ups? And just take a look at things instead of maybe handing out pills. It's really a pandemic right there. And everything is rooted in emotions. So I'm really happy that we've got to talk a little bit about that, and how we can become more compassionate without judgment, and more like just look at life like curiosity, like, oh, why did that happen? Oh, why did anger come to visit me today? Why sadness here? But without judgment.
I love
It's,
to interrupt just a little bit, because I think
oh,
some of the
please.
things that you've touched on here are so, so, so important. And they're things that the more we say it, the more we get this message out there, the more that each person that's interacted with trauma, which is probably the greater population now, is emotions. We've been taught to like stuff them down, and they shouldn't be big, and they shouldn't be seen or heard. But in reality, that curiosity, that ability to empathetically and compassionately address it and say, what do you need right now? Like, to the emotion, how can I see you? How can I hear you? How can I love on you? And the one thing I love is it's more of a playful pleasure interaction versus I'm going to have to feel these emotions, and they have to be dark and heavy and congested. But the emotion, no matter the spectrum, whether it's sadness or anger or any of it, there can be a lightness to it. And there are tools and techniques, especially with what you do, that are almost pleasurable to do them versus the dark and gritty type of work, right?
There's
So,
no doubt.
yeah.
I mean, I'm so excited to just say, how can we, look at these things with curiosity that are surfacing, and like look at our addictions. What's happening right now? Is there more internet purchasing? Are people like, you know, having a good old time with pornography, or are they, doing sport betting, or with no judgment. I'm just saying, is it healthy, or are we turning things into like getting a comfort out of things? And I think that's really interesting because it may not feel healthy. Um, how can we look at how we are eating? I mean, um, I have no shame or blame when I want to have a late night bowl of ice cream. Or, one of my favorite snack time things is Cheetos. No shame or blame. I mean, we can like feel like with us, how do we experience kindness and trust that we can sit down and reconnect and repair anything, um, if it's gotten to a point of not healthy?
I think something important there is it goes from the duality of like right or wrong, bad or good, and more to what is. And that's kind of a unified place to be. And it also allows for this space of like autonomy. I'm choosing to do this and I'm choosing to be mindful and present and let my thoughts and my senses and my body be a part of that experience. And some of those, like sports betting, pornography, addictions, things like that, are filling a void. And it's, a numbing, avoiding, but it's a signal, it's a sign to say like there is something here that wants to be seen, heard, and loved, and that it can be what it is. It doesn't have to have the shame and blame and embarrassment to it.
Right.
That you can meet it right where it's at.
Yeah, I mean, whatever dynamics are going inside of us, just be okay with it. Have a talk with yourself, you know?
Well, perfect. Well, in light of keeping these short, because we're all very busy, we have lots of things going on with the topic of emotions and body intelligence, and understanding that, our thoughts affect our physiology, affects our emotions. Do you have any final last like statements or remarks that for the survivors, the women that we have in this group, if they have a big, overwhelming emotion, what's something they can get started with today? How can they reach out to you to get, tap into the resources that you offer so that we can learn this body intelligence?
Right. So I'm thinking of just maybe being a bit more silly, a bit more happy, a bit more giddy, a bit more tingly, and feel into your body, and just with wonder and anticipation in a way that like raises your eyebrows. I wonder what's around the corner, around the next moment or the next moment, because we just don't know. But to be in that sense of playfulness so that we can live our wildest dreams, you know, happiness is very intelligent. Take time to be in maybe that place where you can really refresh yourself and think the next best thought.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. All right. So we're going to go ahead and here with the end of the live stream in the group, in this live stream, down in the comments below, I have posted up Jamie's website as well as her Facebook page. So if this is really sparking your interest, really resonating, and you're having these big emotions and really looking to reintegrate them, reprocess, meet them with curiosity, please do not hesitate to reach out to Jamie. She has a ton of events coming up right now that you can access. And that will be it for here in the community. As always, my inbox is always open. If you have questions, comments, concerns, please do not hesitate to reach out. Anytime that you message, I'm going to be there to respond. If I do that, I have the time and day for you. So much love to everybody in the community. If you're here on Zoom, feel free to stick around for a few more minutes of conversations and connections. And we'll see you all next Friday at noon for the final part of this series. Have a great and phenomenal weekend. Just as Jamie said, look with curiosity for each moment and play and have fun.